Expedition to the Monastery, an extract by Leo Tolstoy. Several times that night I awoke in terror at the thought that I might be oversleeping myself, and by 6 o'clock was out of bed, though the dawn was hardly peeping in at the window. I put on my boots, my clothes, and without a prayer said or my face washed, emerged for the first time in my life into the street, alone. Over the way behind the green roof of a large building, the dim, cold dawn was beginning to blush red. The keen frost of the spring morning, which had stiffened the pools and mud and made them crackle under my feet, now nipped at my face and hands also. Not a cab was to be seen, though I had counted upon one to make the journey out and home the quicker. Only a file of wagons was rumbling along the Arabat prospect, and a couple of bricklayers talking noisily together as they strode along the pavement. However, after walking a verst or so, I began to meet men and women taking baskets to market, or going with empty barrels to fetch the day's supply of water, until at length, at the cross streets near the Arabat gate, where a pieman had set up his stall and a baker was just opening his shop, I espied an old cabman, shaking himself after indulging in a nap on the box of his bescratched old blue-painted hobbledehoy wreck of a drosky. He seemed barely awake as he asked 20 kopecks as the fare to the monastery and back, but came to himself a moment afterwards, just as I was about to get in, and, touching up his horse with the spare end of the reins, started to drive off and leave me. "My horse wants feeding," he growled. "I can't take you, sir." With some difficulty and a promise of 40 kopecks, I persuaded him to stop. He eyed me narrowly and as he pulled up, but nevertheless said, "Very well, get in, sir." I must confess that I had some qualms. I caught hold of the collar of his ragged driving coat, close to where his wrinkled neck showed sadly lean above his hunched-up back, and climbed on the blue-painted, curved, rickety seat. As we set off along Vodzvinka Street, I noticed that the back of the drosky was covered with a strip of the same greenish material as that of which his coat was made. For some reason or another, this reassured me, and I no longer felt nervous. The sun had risen to a good height and was gilding the cupolas of the churches when we arrived at the monastery. In the shade the frost had not yet given, but in the open roadway muddy rivulets of water were coursing along, and it was as though it was through fast thawing mire that the horse went clip-clopping his way. Alighting and entering the monastery grounds, I inquired of the first monk whom I met where I could find the priest whom I was seeking. "His cell is over there," replied the monk, as he stopped a moment and pointed towards a little building up to which a flight of steps led. "I respectfully thank you," I said, and then fell to wondering what all the monks must be thinking of me as they glanced in my direction. I was neither a grown-up nor a child, while my face was unwashed, my hair unbrushed, my clothes tumbled, and my boots muddy. To what class of persons were the brethren assigning me? For they stared at me hard enough. Nevertheless, I proceeded in the direction which the young priest has pointed me out, and the old man with bushy grey eyebrows and a black cassock met me on the narrow path to the cells and asked me what I wanted. For a brief moment I felt inclined to say nothing, and then run back to the drosky and drive away home. But for all its beetling brows, the face of the old man inspired confidence, and I merely said that I wished to see the priest. "Very well, young sir, I will take you to him. said the old man as he turned around. Clearly he had guessed my errand at a stroke. The father is at matins at this moment, but he will soon be back. And opening a door, the old man led me through a neat hall and corridor, all lined with clean matting, to a cell. Please wait here, he added, and then with a kind reassuring glance departed. The little room in which I found myself was the smallest possible dimensions, but extremely neat and clean. Its furniture only consisted of a small table, a stand of icons with a lamp suspended in front of each of them, a bench, 2 chairs. In one corner hung a wall clock with little flowers painted on its dial and brass weights to its chains, while upon 2 nails driven into a screen hung a couple of cassocks. The windows looked out upon a whitewashed wall, about 2 arshins distant, and in the space between there grew a small lilac bush. Not a sound penetrated from without, and in the stillness the measured, friendly stroke of the clock's pendulum seemed to beat quite loudly. The instant that I found myself alone in this calm retreat, all other thoughts and recollections left my head as completely as though they had never been there, and I subsided into an inexpressibly pleasing kind of torpor. The rusty cassocks with their frayed linings, the worn black leather bindings of the books with their metal clasps, the dull green plants with their carefully watered leaves on the soil, and above all, the abrupt, regular beat of the pendulum, all spoke to me intimately of some new life hitherto unknown to me, a life of unity and prayer, of calm, restful happiness. And that was The Expedition to the Monastery, an extract by Leo Tolstoy, found in the book Youth. This is Auntie Natasha here. Bye.